you're not feeling it and you're not doing the work, it's quite obvious.
We want people to change. We don't change them by putting them down, by ridiculing them, by ostracizing them, and by canceling them. We create change by engaging through love and through the lens of love.
Don't you ask yourself why? Why do we do it this way? Who even invented this up?
Have to be dismantled and destructed so that the rise and elevation can come.
Satnam, sister.
Satnam, I love your green.
I'm in my studio room in my house, you know, the whole quarantine. I had to like get creative to doing all these interviews and stuff all over. So
well, it's a beautiful, beautiful look. The green screen. Good to see you.
It's a pleasure to see you as well. You look absolutely amazing. I mean, I'm like, let me bow to you.
Thank you.
You're so gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll take it. It's been a long day, so I'll take it. So I just want to say, I know how much you're outputting right now and how many people need you right now. So I want to keep this short, you know, as short as it wants to be, but I want to just preface with that. And I don't know, I was thinking like just even being in a prayer space with you for even a couple of minutes could be just really revelatory, I think, for me and for everyone. But however this wants to unfold, but just prefacing that this could be as short as it needs to be for you to serve.
Oh, it's okay. I've cleared my schedule for you. So yeah, I don't have anything for a while. I think 5 o'clock is my next appointment that I have. But so I wanted to make sure that, because I know how things can run over, so I wanted to make sure that I'm 100% present with you, right? Because, you know, I mean, I miss you and I don't get a lot of chance to see you as much, you know, with everything in the pandemic and everything and all the other stuff happening on the planet, such as all the riots and people reacting and, you know.
Well, I'm so happy to be here with you, and we can go anywhere, you know, just like want to just be in space with you.
So let's start off with, like you said, let's start off with a prayer. Do you want to lead us into a prayer?
Okay. So just through the quantum field, as we are all here now and forever, and we've come here from many long journeys and many roads traveled and many incarnations and lifetimes and patterns and cycles have brought us all to this moment, and we're all ready for this moment, and we're all willing to participate in this very auspicious moment on this planet. Just remembering now, all of us together, that we incarnated for this to the planet Earth at this time, and that we're fortified and strong enough and ready to be the harbingers and the midwives and the shamans and the reality creators of this new era of consciousness, not just on planet Earth, but in this galaxy and rippling out into all of the multiverse. And just connecting now through my heart into all of the space of the Sacred Heart that we all hold uniquely and as one, to open up a space that is willing to listen and to grow. Thank you.
Thank you, sister.
So How are you doing with what's happening over there? Where are you? Besides
I'm
your
in Los
green
Angeles.
world. You are, okay.
Yes. So what's happening for me right now has been more about making sure I'm taking care of myself and doing a lot of self-care, and then also acknowledging my ancestors' conversation with me and how they want me to show up and be present for the people, and the ways that it's most, I would say, the way that is most necessary for me to be present with the people, versus just doing things haphazardly, but really being very like present and mindful with clear intention, clear focus, and just real heart presence with people at this time, and acknowledging the vulnerability that's taking place on our planet, and how can I be a blanket of, you know, both protection, but also of sustenance for people to be able to see their own capability of being a wellspring onto themselves.
Mm. Yeah. I have to say, I've just been feeling like how much all of your medicine is needed. I've just been really feeling like there's a, you know, I know how much you show up for that, and I'm glad that you're taking care of yourself, because I do feel just, you know, and also like you and your love, I feel the aura that's happening between you two, this is changing the world. I just want to tell you that.
Oh, thank you, my love. You know, it's been quite a struggle, as you know, and a lot of people don't realize how much Princess Marta and I go through in our relationship, being an interracial couple, being the fact that I'm a soul sexual person. So I'm very open with the fact that I am attracted to both sexes, or whatever love presents itself. That's why I call myself soul sexual, because I'm not attracted to every woman and every man. I'm attracted to the energy source of the person. And also just, you know, the fact that I'm a shaman and she's a princess, and so it's kind of like this very almost whimsical, mystical love story, but then it also has the villains who are coming in, like yelling at us, attacking us, you know, coming at us all the time. And what I love is that we always, you know, we were in Costa Rica recently, and every night for like 4 hours, we just spent doing like shadow stuff on ourselves, like looking at our insecurities, looking at our fears, looking at the way I show up in the world, looking at how she shows up in the world, and how can we amplify more love through our relationship into the world. And also how much, and we were spending a lot of time in nature, so we spent a lot of time just walking through nature, meditating under trees together, eating healthy food, and just really being present with spirit, and just back and forth all night, like from like the morning time till nighttime, walking through nature together, coming back, sitting in meditation, and then sitting and clarifying how we show up as a male and female, and then how do we show up as the female in a male, and how she shows up as a female inside of a male. So the energy of the masculine and feminine in me and the energy of the masculine and feminine in her is seen and experienced as this beautiful vessel for us to hold people in. Because we're the first royal couple that actually speaks out in the royal family about the spiritual context, like, and not just the context of like the very minuscule understanding of spirituality, but we are very voicey and very, I would say, you know, in retrospect, we are the only voice right now in the royal house that is actually talking about, you know, what is Satnam, what is yoga, what does it mean to be devotional, what is shamanism, what does it mean to hold space for women, what does it mean to have women, give women a voice, what does it mean to be masculine without the toxic masculinity, and really sharing about powers and spirits and all these things, and watching all the royal houses, because she's cousins to all of the houses except for Holland. And even with the family in Jordan, I remember Princess Samaya spending time with me from the royal family in Jordan, and her saying, you know, you remind me of, and I said, what is that? She said, you remind me of you remind me of being Eddie Murphy in God. Like that was her take on me after spending this whole time with me, because I'm constantly sharing.
That's funny.
I said, baby, if you want to see God, you take me to the dance floor, okay?
Yeah.
You get me on the dance floor, you throw some house music on, and me and Marta will be bumping until 6 o'clock in the morning, and you will see, a true revival.
Yeah. Hear you.
You know, but there's a certain level of regalness that we have to maintain when we're in the royal family, and also, but we're still not going to give up our voice. We're not going to give up who we are and our playfulness and our silliness and our goofiness. And we love having you as a friend. And we're always like, we were so upset because we were so excited to come to Rama in Mallorca again. And I was like, and we had this whole tag team plan together. It was like, you know, like we're gonna come in like and just really like bring it to a whole nother level. And you know, coronavirus had to come in and you know, whatever. But it's fine because there's gonna be more times. But we're just honored to have you as a friend and be a part of our lives. We love you so much, and I'm happy to be here in this live with you.
I feel like it's we're I mean, one thing I've been noticing that really it's helping me is this, you know, just like I feel more kind of needing in a certain, I don't know, maybe these aren't exactly the words, but like I'm more open to the impact that those of us who are in certain roles right now on the planet, like having the intimacy of, you know, that friendship is just like really important to me. So thank you.
No, thank you. I remember the first day I met you and I knew you were my family.
I know, we totally were like, and action again in this lifetime.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Though I still think your practice is way more intense than shamanism. I thought shamanism was more intense, and then I came to Mallorca and started doing all the practices, and I was like sweating, I was like wearing white, I was like sweating, I was like dripping, and like, oh my God, how am I doing this with my hands? And like, it was intense. And I'm always like shamanism, you know, when I teach people like the body movements and how to open up portals and energies, how easy I think it's always a challenge for people. But then when I actually went in, I was like, no, this is the challenge. This is really where you got to direct your mind. It was quite an experience for me.
Yeah, no, it's, I remember that moment, like, just because your aura is so, you know, big and also just very unique. And I remember looking back and seeing you kind of like going into some like I was like, oh, he's having fun back there. He's having fun back there.
I was doing it the best I could, but I had to go into a trance to get to this process, you know? And it's like, and the energy, it's like an apex. It goes up and creates this like, these different dimensional levels of consciousness, and it starts flooding into your body as you're doing all of these beautiful experiences with you. It was so intense, and the room was so hot, and I was like, oh my God, I'm in a sweat lodge / like opening up dimensional doorways and like restructuring my brain technology, and like all these things are whizzing through my body. So it was amazing. I recommend anyone to go to any of the Rama. What you've created is amazing, by the way. Truly, truly amazing. I love teaching shamanism at your temples. It's such a great thing.
You like the portals that you open when you're at Rama, they remain open. I know you know that, but I'm just telling you that, like, there's a real, I mean, in the way of like, there's a signature that I just hold that you have brought into Rama, and I'm so grateful. I want to ask, I mean, what do you feel like sharing any kind of spiritual, you know, your ancestors, your teachers, I mean, what they've been kind of giving you, anything that you feel like is
Yes. So I've been going into ancestral counseling since this whole thing. I mean, I went into it before when I wrote the book Spirit Hacking. It was literally written for this time as a book, as a torch. Because I remember when my ancestors first came to me, they're like, you need to write a book It needs to be called the blackout. It needs to be ready before 2020. And you need to be very specific about what we want you to write about and use some shamanic teachings in the book. And I'm not a person who writes books. Like, that's just not my thing. Like, everyone's like, oh, how many books did you write? I was like, oh, I don't write books, you know? And they were very clear about it. They're like, you're going to do it. We're going to give you the publisher. We're going to find you the book aid. Like, everything's going to be laid out for you, but you have to have it done by 2020. So they kind of they already kind of like preferenced me into the understanding of like what was coming, but now they're prefacing me into how to adapt through the process. Because like really what they're sharing with me the most right now is the things that are going to start shifting on the planet. So everything that's happening right now, the ancestors are saying, is this revival of energy, this pulling of the sediment of energy that's been stuffed under the rug. But human beings actually think it has to do with what's happening on the outside. And what the ancestors have been telling me is that the mental emotional discord that has been showing up already in the spirit plane because of what everyone's holding on to is literally what has caused all of these things to manifest the way it has. It has nothing to do, like if people are upset about Trump or they're upset about the corona or they're upset about that, what the ancestors have been showing me is that they already were upset. And so what they're doing is they're taking the spiritual realm that's been holding all that energy and that sediment for them that human beings have been stuffing, and don't realize that every time you stuff physically, you stuff spiritually. And so that spiritual wall, where there's like that beautiful wall that connects each dimension to itself, is like basically turning. And it's like pushing everything back into our world, saying like, you can't keep hiding and smiling and pretending. And when at night you're thinking this and you're feeling this about this person and you're thinking this about that person, and all of that goes into the invisible planes. And so now the answers are saying is that it's clearing out those invisible planes. And so that has to then go back into our plane and say like, and here's the result of all the stuff you thought you were stuffing in the visible, which was actually stuffing in the invisible. And so what they're telling me right now is the level of nurturing that is required for people to be able to be comfortable taking responsibility. So it's not just about white people learning about white privilege or white people taking responsibility to speak out and be on behalf of melanated brothers and sisters such as myself. It's about us taking responsibility as a whole. This is not just about the white and black thing. This is about the human thing. This is about how we interrelate with the animal kingdom, how we interrelate within our own ancestral, culture, how we preserve it, how we honor it, how we relate to each other in community, how we relate to women and women's voices and knowledges that have been stuffed and pressed down and pushed into the invisible plane, how we relate to understanding hurt men who are still acting out of their hurt, insecure selves, which shows up as a toxic masculinity, how we interrelate to what does it mean to be spiritual, because the idea of the spiritual context has been polluted and diluted down to, you drinking a green smoothie and going to a yoga class with your mat, and then maybe once in a while you do ayahuasca and you consider yourself this very spiritually enlightened being, when spirituality is no more than a bridge to evolution. And so when we begin to remove all of these things that we've placed as these labels and definitions of reality, we realize that reality is constantly shifting based upon what's going on in the invisible, not in the tangible. The tangible is just our experience of it. As we would say, people would talk about dharma versus karma. It's the consciousness of how do we stay in a state of dharma and stop creating more karma, because we're operating in this disillusionment that it's this person's fault, or it's this thing, or it's that thing. All the system is doing is going like, we build a technology to keep you as slaves, and our technology is perfect because you make it run. Like, we didn't do anything. You're making this happen. All we're doing is just sitting back and just being like, okay, and look, we're go for that, and let's see them react. Okay, and we're go for that one. Now let's get them to react over there. All we're doing is we're not sitting in that devotional encasing, which is where we get to truly be creators. And we're outside of that form, which is kind of scary. It's kind of like we left the nucleus. So the ancestors are saying for me to help people get back to the nucleus, and that nucleus is love. Now, all of the pervading issues that we're dealing with on our global level, from racism and sexism to social political issues to you name it, are all symptoms of the illness that started from inside the nucleus, from us not taking responsibility. Like, let me give it to you in this most simplest way that one of my grandmother said to me the other day. There's no reason for human beings to be unhappy and upset when you have so much given to you in life. I mean, we have cell phones. I mean, can't that solve all your problems? Can't you just be happy? You know, like, why is there...
Some of us remember what it was like before that.
Exactly, I do. I remember my pager. I remember all that. You know, I had to figure out code so I could say love. You know, like, we have all of this technology. We have nature. We have food. We have all these things, and even the people who don't, we have enough resources to provide them. We have so much, but we're never satisfied. It's like the human being isn't satisfied. And so that unsatisfied, that vacuous hole is the place where we need to sit in devotion in. It's like, why does this hole exist? Yes. What is this vacuous hole? Because this vacuous hole is creating the how do you say, the pressure and the lack and the limitation that allows us to make money our bitch, and to make, you know, the situation that we see in the world more drastic than it has to be, because we just can't, is it really a problem that we just can't enjoy our lives? We just can't be happy? We have to find something more? It's a sickness. It's a disease of the mind. It's a dis-ease of the soul. And the reason why it's a dis-ease of the soul is because the soul just wants to be happy. It wants bliss. It wants elation. It wants to shine. And we've created all these structures of limiting its ability to shine. Now, if you take a supernova energy and try to squeeze it down into a tiny itsy-bitsy container, you can imagine the amount of chaos that is going to come from the reverberation of that compression against that powerful source of energy. That's what's happening to us individually, is that we're compressing ourselves when we're this huge luminant being. And that's the reason why we're not satisfied, because we seek the idea of satisfaction for the need for power. We find power in overeating. We find power in being destructive. We find power in being dissatisfied, or being a victim, or not being this, or creating dysfunctional relationships. We find power because now we're getting attention. Now we're getting love. But it's not love. It's just attention. It's just pulling of energies back and forth. Becomes like a rubber band effect. And none of that is creating what we really need when we talk about Satnam, right? It's being able to bring the storm, to be the eye of the storm, to be the center alliance of all energies in oneness amongst chaos, and thereby being that, which is what I see when I hear the word Satnam. This is what I think about, is that to be able to take all of that and bring it into what we call a constant state of observation and acceptance and love. And therefore, we are no longer needing the chaos to be the projector of the things that we won't come to terms with in our agreements, which is like, it's a simple agreement, people. It's like, just realize the agreement that you made, which is to learn to accept. It's not that difficult to accept, to love, and to embrace everything that you find uncomfortable and out of alignment to your view patterns and your perception. And that's what they've been sharing with me.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing all of that. I think that your description of basically the chaos of, we'll call it the collective subconscious, or, you know, the veil of these different dimensional realities, however you want to describe it, but that now is bleeding through or being brought into this realm, because we have to, it has to be, I mean, part of the kind of human experience is the 3D. So I think it's like, in order for us to get things that were, that are, we'll call it somehow transparent to us, it has to come forward in certain dramatic ways, as it is happening right now. And it's quite, I mean, you just see things that you just, what a blessing to see people waking up, as painful as it may be.
Right. And we have to understand that pain is literally the opportunity for awareness for your soul. It literally is like, if that's what we need in order to recognize imbalance, until we learn to really fully embrace the feminine. Because when we fully embrace the feminine, we don't need to go through pain the way we go through. We go through pain because the structures are out of alignment. So that's why I say we need more women speakers. We need more women voices. Like I talk about with my girlfriend all the time. I go, babe, like the first thing we're going to do because she's moving here into the States, and we're setting up our life as soon as this whole thing is over. And the first thing that we need to do when you get here is get you on podcasts and like get you out there to speak, and get you to start building a women's community of women leaders, helping bring the voices of women to the forefront of conversations and intellect and technology and all of these things. Because the thing is, the key element of evolution cannot complete itself without women being able to hold in that feminine energy, which they've been so graciously holding, but also men have been restraining it. It's not just for the feminine, it's for the male too, because we can't make the full, complete, completion of evolution when we're not able to see both quantumly and both within and different spectrums. If we're not able to see the spectrum of both the inner and the outer simultaneously, that's why I love meditation, because in meditation, you're able to be in and out at the same time, and it trains your mind. So your super subconscious and your subconscious mind and your prefrontal lobe begins to merge in this awareness that you are both in and out and all around and everything. So then you begin to see like, oh, if that's the case, and that's the feminine holding that circle, that beautiful circle, which is the womb consciousness, right? Then we understand that in the womb consciousness, all things are provided because you're connected to all things. So you're not separate. You're not alienated. You're not ostracized. You're not put aside. You're not dismissed. You can never be dismissed. You can never be alienated. You never can be kicked out. And if you know that, then what?
I truly believe that these quantum leaps can and are and will happen as fast as we are able to basically hold the new patterns and hold the energy. Like, this doesn't have to be a messy, 100 years of just chaos on planet Earth. It does not have to be like that.
No, it does not. And it will not. Because there's enough people, and all it requires for each person to do is to re-identify their vision of being. Not from a place of, I need to get, instead from a place of, I need to give. You see, when we get out of, I need to get, I need your thank yous, I need your this, I need this, so I can feel better, so I can feel love, so I feel part of something, I feel amazing, I feel that. No, that's what the matrix wants. That's what the system wants. It wants us to base our existence on likes and false realities of accolades and acceptance. The moment we seek to get acceptance is the moment we've lost acceptance for ourselves. The undercurrent of energy is, if I need it from you, it's because I'm missing it, which means I'm saying I am not whole, or I'm not able to sustain we are not being sustainable beings. If we operate in indigenous culture, we operate in the way tribal cultures were built. They were built on creating a sustainable unit of people who are each operating in their own leadership of the tribe. It's not the shaman who runs the tribe or the chief who runs the tribe. It's every single person down to the kid who's running through nature. So if we begin to recognize that autonomy allows us to build a new economy, which allows us to create an excellence in the way in which we perceive life. We then define the principles of living differently, because we don't operate from, I need to do this so I can make money. I need to do this so I can have love. I need to do this so da 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 da. All I need to do is give. Because when I'm in the state of giving, the devotional fold, which is the feminine energy, allows me to be supplied. But everyone's going the opposite way. They're coming take, and acting like they're running out of food, or they're trying to get the last little peach on the earth. Where is the acknowledgement of the all always remaining in the all once you recognize that you are part of the all? And that's why nature is hurting. That's why nature is affected, because we human beings keep encroaching upon the boundaries of going into nature and taking up more natural space, because we feel we have to, because we're missing something. Why is human beings always missing something? Why can't they see that the more they give, the more they live?
And that's what this whole era is about. I mean, that's
what it's about.
This is it. I mean, and I think it's also, I really feel that this is where, like, integrity to your soul's mission, which only you know, really, which only you and you know, and only you can hear and only you can follow, it's one of the most important things in this moment. Because if everyone even increases their integrity to their own mission by 10% right now, and it's going to look so many different ways, then, I mean, we're going, the whole frequency of the planet is going to completely change.
Yes, exactly. So, someone just said here, giving and giving and giving makes you drained. And I want to bring you some seeds of wisdom, okay?
Yes.
So if you are giving and giving and you feel drained, that's because you're giving without devotion. You're not giving from the pure essence of giving. You're giving with the idea that you should have something in return once you give. The draining part is the lack of meeting the expectation that you created around the giving source. I give and give and give. I don't feel drained. I feel filled. I feel illuminated. I feel happy. I literally wake up and I feel good inside, no matter what riots and this thing and that thing and this thing is happening, because those to me are like flies around me. Oh, look at the fly. Oh, look at that. But it's not going to upset my equilibrium, because I am a self-sustaining. When we talk about sustainability, I am sustainability. Yes. But when you give and give and give and you're drained, it's because you created expectations, you created ideas that you give to get love, you give to get something. If you are not recognizing that the love and all those things are coming to you, that means you're not even open to the receptibility of creation. You are not open to receive that which is already yours. I don't have to do something in order to be loved by creation. I am all the time, every time.
Yes. I'm feeling that. I'm feeling my DNA is dancing right now. It's a DNA dance party. This human incarnation right now. But I mean, I think it's interesting because science is actually catching up to what we know as spiritual journeyers. But you know, part of what has to happen is that there's actually a awakening of our evolutionary process, which is the DNA, which is the epigenetic, the positive parts of the epigenetics.
I love that. I love epigenetics.
So
Love
good.
it. I love it. Like, I love epigenetics. I mean, like, when I'm speaking to like doctors and scientists, that's my favorite topic is epigenetics, because it's so true. And I also love, I love ecology, because I've created the understanding of mental ecology, understanding spiritual ecology, how we're interacting, how we're being affected by our environments, by our food, by the people we're associating with, by the things we're putting in our mind, by the things we're putting visually, by the things that we're saying out of our mouths. I mean, just the idea of speaking, what are you speaking about and what are you defending? Like, that in itself right there was like a mind blow for me. Like, people don't even pay attention to, like, what are you speaking about and what are you defending and what stories are you telling? Because are these stories that you're telling, are they enlightening stories? Are they fulfilling? Do they bring sustenance? Do they lift the energy of someone else around you just because? Is your mental ecology in harmony? Because we can focus on ecology, we can look at how the organism is affected by different associations, but when we understand the mental ecology, oh wow, so you mean conversations and things that I'm actually taking in as far as input is actually affecting me?
I mean, these are waves, and I don't think people. My teacher at Ajivan was just talking about. You have to understand how much input you can take in without being pummeled by the frequency of the negativity or the hypnosis or the agenda of where that's being broadcast. No, I think it's important to be able to look and read the news and watch things and look at things from different perspectives, but everybody has a different amount to which they can stay in nucleus center, stay in love basically, and still be taking in all of this stuff. And it's very important to understand that.
Oh my goodness, I love you so much. It's literally the consciousness of do not hold. It's like that's why I love the teachings of Lord Siddhartha. It's the consciousness. In shamanism, we always say, like, to hold on to something is to lose something, right? And it's that mentality. It's like holding on something, you're losing something because you're not allowing flow. So nothing is meant to be held on to. There's not supposed to be an attachment to. I don't have attachment to my body. My body is temporal. I am an eternal being. You know, I can be here today and gone tomorrow, but I'm not gone. I'm just in a different form, but I'm not going to attach to things, you know? And that's the same in my relationship. I love my girlfriend, but we have this understanding that we're not attached to each other to the point where we're like, obsessed, attached, because that creates fear. And that locking position allows you to lose out. So I'm with my girlfriend as long as I am operating in amplified love with her. As long as the rivers fill us and the flow of the river is still moving, because both of us are the magnetic energy that makes that river flow. And the moment her magnetic energy goes out, I go, whoa, wait, the river's not moving as quick as it could or the way it should. Is everything okay with your magnetic energy? Is there something we need to look at and love into to shift that magnetic energy back to getting your part and all? Because we can't move the river by ourselves. We have to move the river together. So it's an equal participation. So I have to be just as mindful of my words to her and the way I show up for her and the space I hold for her so that she can be in her power and I can be in my power. And what we don't understand is the same river that we share between two people, we share collectively. And that collective river has been stagnant.
Yes. Yes. It's the little cesspool.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I've been trying to get my canoe down that river. I'm like, come
Yeah.
on, Pete, come on. Okay, everybody get back in your center so we can move this river, so this planet can transverse into that 5D, transverse into another dimension while moving around the sun. The whole entire universe moves into another dimension, and we then begin to see realities that people think that they thought was impossible becoming possible, because we're able to shift the frequency of that river to move us down another pathway. That's why I love quantum physics, because we understand that the reality of Earth is existing simultaneously in multiple dimensions. Universe dimensions, multiplex universe dimensions, and understanding of frequency exchanges. That means that planetary frequencies are operating all on the same frequency, but they don't collide because it creates chaos. And what we do in life is we create frequency and then battle them out. Like, I've got a frequency, you got a frequency, like, instead of just being like, wait a second. The frequency we need to see is the one that makes things flow in its most harmonious state. So if we're using frequencies that are not moving us in that harmonious state, then we are actually creating disturbances. We're creating nuances of energies that have never been created before, that are creating structural breakdowns within the energetic field of perception, evolution, emotional experience, or how do we say, experimentation, and our ability to perceive reality.
So let's talk about this for a second, because I know I can ask you this, and you can. This was asked earlier in the chat, but I think this is an important space to go in here. So a lot of white people are, experiencing / participating in / buying into a huge kind of shame, guilt, inversion experience of what's happening in terms of current events. Any thoughts on this in terms of like not spiritually bypassing, doing the work, but still not, basically just creating another wave of shame and guilt on planet Earth? I mean, what's your take in here?
So first, when we talk about spiritual bypassing, we have to stop using it as a weapon, because weapons don't serve the purpose of evolution. They just don't, If we're gonna go and if we want people to change, we don't change them by putting them down, by ridiculing them, by ostracizing them, and by canceling them. We create change by engaging through love, and through the lens of love, conversations, words, understandings, and information that helps people to grow. And so what's been happening on the planet right now is that you have a lot of people shaming white people for not, observing their evolution gateway, as I would say. So like the best way I can say it is like what my girlfriend said, which is so brilliant, is that when I started dating Princess Marja, she had no idea that racism existed, okay? I didn't get mad at her. I didn't yell at her. I didn't beat her over the head or pull the rug from underneath her and make her feel like the lowest piece of anything on the planet. I engaged in love with her. I said, I know, honey, you don't understand this. So let me show you where it exists so you can see with your own eyes. So every time we do something, I'm like, right there, that. Did you see that? She's like, oh my God, that one right there. Do you see that? Yes. Okay, honey, did you know that when you touch a Black woman's hair, she feels like that brings back all her ancestral stuff that hasn't been healed around the idea that white people can just do whatever they want to do, and there's no they don't have any respect for Blacks or colored or melanated people to have their own space, their own autonomy, their own energy. And so when you just reach out and grab someone's hair, oh my God, I love your braids. No, you can touch your hair. It's kind of like what the white women would do to the slaves. Like, oh, look at your hair. Look at this, And so the understanding is that the whole shame and the whole blame actually takes us out of the whole entire thing that we are shifting on the planet, because it doesn't support people to feel bad. People feel bad does not create change, just right off the bat.
No.
People being educated, instructed with love, with grace, with understanding, with compassion for the fact that they were born into this system. Most of the people who are feeling shamed and blamed never once took a Black person and locked them in a cage and fed them scrappy foods off their table like they used to do in the old times. Most of those people are just people living their lives and were born into a system that was already created for them. As Martha said, I, as a princess, was born into royalty. I didn't know that these things existed because I was never shown these things. It wasn't like I sat down in school and was like, this is what white privilege looks like. This is what this looks like. From her perspective, she had no idea. So me sharing compassion, being compassionate to the fact that she was born into a system, and now the opportunity she gets to be able to understand what that looks like and where we can actually start making resourceful change. And I say resourceful change, and I want to say it again so everyone can understand. Resourceful change. The difference between just making change or being a resourceful change is based upon utilizing information and utilizing what resources you have that supports an authentic movement through you into a situation. Just making change is reactive. It's like jumping off a cliff without knowing where you're going to land. There has to be a moment of grace before anyone takes a step. And we must always understand that. That's a very important thing. And so I'm not here to blame white people or make them feel bad. I'm here to educate and help them understand what they were born into and help them see the resources they have available to be able to assist in creating change, but from an authentic and loving place.
Yes.
When we operate outside of that, we are just disenfranchised, disconnected, people running around pointing the fingers, angry, doing this, doing that. And that's exactly what the system of control would love to see, is disenfranchised scatterbrains running around doing all these things from an inauthentic place so that they can get more people upset, and they get upset and they get upset. But here's the thing. They already know you've been upset. They just need you to direct that upsetness at each other so that you realize that war is the greatest commodity on our planet. It is the greatest thing that makes money for people who want to stay in power.
Yes.
And systems and governments stay in power by utilizing fear as a weapon that you will create once they agitate you enough to create it. So that you will need what services they provide, and you will vote and you will do things according to what they want you to do to have that protection, to have those things that they offer. Until we build a council of elders and begin to ask people to pull away their attention from and their investment away from systems that we don't accept anymore as a part of making war on our planet, that is the only way we're going to see true revolution. We cannot do it like it was done before. We have to create something new.
Yes. And I do think that, the thing that some people who aren't aware of how the bigger picture works is, we have all sorts of beings on this planet that aren't just human. And soon we're going to be living with all sorts of the realization that we're actually on a planet that's like a Star Wars bar. And there's going to be all sorts of different everything.
I can't believe you're saying this, but I can. But I'm gonna let you go, because I just had this conversation with my niece last night, and I'm gonna let you go on it, because I usually don't talk about this aspect of humanity, about the ETs that are actually enslaving our planet. But I keep it on a thing, because I deal with a lot of the mainstream public, so I want to make sure that I don't blow their mind too much and get them thinking, oh my God, we're an ET. Go ahead. Continue. We're going to speak about it here, then let's speak about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just dipping a toe in. We can always offline about it, but what I would just say is that there's a bigger, picture here that I think this is one step in deconstructing our what we're going to have to face in terms of the interstellar species and the as time travel and space travel becomes quicker. It already has, all the different, and Earth being a place where people are coming, they're visiting, there's different agendas, there's all sorts of things happening. I think this is just the next level of us starting to get with the program of a much bigger thing at play. We'll see.
I might get ready for the next level of informational download.
Yes.
I mean, look,
Yes.
I mean, when Martha and I were king and queen in Egypt in our other lifetime, we were enslaved by an ET colony that made us do rituals in temples and sacrifice humans in order to stay in power. And we had to play the game. We couldn't turn away from it. And not only that, my father's father in Egypt in that lifetime had to do the same thing. We had to keep doing it. And we needed slaves. We needed ways to stay in this position of power. And we got it from these ETs. And it was very secretive where we got these powers from. Yeah. And it existed throughout history. And even if you read the Bible in the book of Genesis, you can see in the book of Genesis where it talks about the towers of Babylon, and it says, it goes, look at them attempting to build a tower to be like us. Let us go down there and confuse their language and send them scattering amongst the earth. Because we were learning cooperation and we were learning how to create. And the beings who were enslaving and asking for worship and asking for this enslavement came down. That's why I said, let us come down. If you look in the Zulu tribe teachings, you will learn that the word Zulu means sky people. There has been such a blanket over humanity of what's really running this. And a lot of times what people will say to me, well, what, the Illuminati? I said, the Illuminati? The Illuminati is a puppet. They're puppeteers doing rituals with taking children and doing all of these things to appease these ETs. Exactly. That's how they keep their power. You think they're the higher ups?
Yeah. they're just
I can tell you that's not true.
They're middle management.
Exactly. They're like level low management.
Yeah.
They're like on the level low. So you can imagine. So like all of these things is that people are like the Illuminati this and the Illuminati that and Pizzagate and these things. They don't understand that these people are in power because they have to keep a certain level of discord and ritual up on the planet, and they have to take a certain amount of lives off the planet to appease these ETs. And the ETs get their power by us constantly accepting the system that's being given to us. Like that's what I love the thing about The Matrix in the movie The Matrix, when Keanu went to the architect and the architect had him up on all the screens and was like, we've done this before. And then he said to him, he goes, well, why don't you create a world? He goes, we tried to create a world of utopia. You people did not accept it. We tried to create this, but you didn't accept it. The only one you could accept is when there was a system that you had to be a part of. So we created the system as it is, so you can feel the need to go into that system. But everything from all the stuff about adrenochrome and this thing and that thing and all these different things, that's low-level management. Yeah. There's a higher level. I know because I was a pharaoh and I remember who I had to pay my homage to. Yes. And I remember how many sacrifices the priestesses had to do to appease these beings to show that we were devotional to what they were giving us, which was power. Yeah. Not a lot of people want to hear that. A lot of people don't want to know they're on a type 2 planet, which is called a slave colony. They don't want to acknowledge that. But you came here to free the people by teaching them to pull back their energy from the things they were told they have to have in order to survive. when we get out of this need to survive and get into this idea of truly wanting to live, true life, true freedom, not freedom because you can go to Hawaii for the weekend, which I talk about in my book. That's just them tossing you a bone. Yeah, you want to Hawaii for a month. Yay. You live in a big house with fancy cars. Yay. They just give that to you to this is crumbs so you can just eat so you don't complain. You'd be like, here, have a little crumb, have a little cookie. Okay, there you go. Now shut up and do what we told you to do. Run your corporation and make the people your slave because we need you to be a slave master. Just like in Egypt, I had taskmasters. When I had people who would beat the slaves and I had people who would beat the taskmasters who didn't beat the slaves. It was a system, a pyramid, a system that made it so that the ones on top, which are the ETs, can stay happy so they don't want to create all this destruction. And so now we're getting these downloaded codes, 1111, 444, 333, 222, coming from the other ETs, going like, we're sending you Morse code, people. We're sending you Morse code. We're trying to tell you how to deal with these beings and how to unravel the system. Yep. And yet, you're just all going like, 1111, make a wish. I wish for a new car. Yay! No.
Yeah. No, and I think what's blowing off on the chat, and obviously, this is a certain space for this, but the amount of kind of pineal decalcification and starting to understand that there's bigger movements of slavery and enslavement and also to understand that the reason why planet Earth has been kind of a war zone for exopolitics, as it were, is because it's so special. There is something very special about this place.
Of course. Yes, the ancient colonies in the time of the Mu people, they understood harmony. They understood certain things, but you had to understand that there were all these different traders, different ET groups that were trading life forms and enslaving them from planet to planet. So they saw this as a place they came here and they started inseminating their DNA into the animal species, which is why we have the double helix and why we have missing strands in our DNA, because we are a bit of those beings. Yeah. But the thing is, it was an experiment. And the experiment went wrong because they thought they could keep controlling us. And we were like, whoa, we are going to think outside of your box. And they were like, oh, no. And so they kept trying to create a new system. But what I find is very fascinating about the human intellect is that we want to create AI to do the exact same thing.
Yes.
We want to create an AI to understand what it's like to see the development of the mind and will it find out things that we don't see. Because we're trying to get out of this trap. We don't understand why we're doing what we're doing. Why do people go to ayahuasca? Why do people go to ashrams? Why do people do plant medicines? Why are people doing psychedelics? Why are people doing these things? Because they know something's wrong. Something's off. You knew it since you were a child. What the heck is this? What do you mean I have to pay bills and pay mortgages and buy food in order to live and all these things? What is this? Who made this system and who made this system of school? What are these things I have to learn? And all these things I have to learn makes me support the system, the very system that wants me to be a slave to it? Of course, but people give in. They're like, yes, okay, I'm safe. You're not safe. That's what this whole thing is about. You never were safe.
Yes.
But you are connected, and you do have brothers and sisters who are of the likeness of mind, who are able to join with you. That's why I call it tribe. And some people will be like, you can't call it a tribe because you're like disrespecting the indigenous people. You know what? That's what I got to say to that. Because a tribe is a gathering of people who focus on the same idea to come together to build resource amongst each other so they can use that resource to be able to expand that resource for something greater for humanity. So again, You have, it's whatever people can create all kinds of issues. I don't care about those issues. I really don't. I'm not focused on it. I was literally looking at the understanding as, it's like, you can't go from, like I was talking to some of my melanated friends, you can't go from,
We have 20 seconds. We have 20 seconds,
Oh.
but keep going. No,
Well,
keep going. Keep going.
you can't go from a melanated person who's been oppressed to you becoming the oppressor over white people. That you're just doing the same thing. You're creating a cycle. The way we get out of the cycle is to shift the narrative. That's how we do it.
That's how we do it. Thank you so
That's how we
much.
do it.
I love you so much.
I love you.
I love you.